COV, cash over valuation. What does valuation mean in real estate? Alright, so when you're gonna buy a place or when you're gonna sell your property, there's always valuation involved. What is actually a valuation? So basically, in a nutshell, valuation is when a valuer or surveyor comes to your place and put an actual value to your property. So there's actually two kinds of valuation. First is an indicative valuation, which means in a very layman term, an aggregation of the price of your property or the property that you're going to buy. And then there's actual valuation or bank valuation, which involves a valuer or surveyor coming in and do an actual valuation. So the surveyor or the valuer comes into the property, they will look at the size of the property, the location of the property, remaining lease, be it freehold, leasehold, 99 years, how much is left in the tenure, okay, the facing of the property, the level of renovation. So even if you have an identical layout, okay, of two property on the same level, but one is actually well renovated or very recently renovated, one's actually quite old, the valuation will come out quite different as well. And then of course at the different level. So general rule of thumb, the higher the, in an apartment situation, okay, a block situation, the higher the level, the higher the valuation as well, a general rule of thumb. Okay, and then also they look at what are the surrounding redevelopment potentials, the different, okay, for private housing, okay, condos, they look at the facilities of the condo as well. That actually helps with the valuation. So what are the benefits to know of the property's valuation as seller, as buyer? Now, of course, as seller, you would not want to know that if you are actually asking the right price or not. Well, why is that important? I want as high as possible. Seller is always asking for high price. But then the thing is, can you imagine if you have a property that is worth 1.5 million and you're wanting to sell 3 million? Okay, sorry to say, but that's not going to happen really fast. All right, so you can use that to actually adjust, use the valuation to adjust your pricing to the correct level. And that will actually get more people coming through to your property to look at your property and maybe from there make a decision whether to buy or not. And also when it comes to a negotiation, you know that the price that you're asking for is reasonable, and if some buyer comes in, once again, buyer wanting to lowball you, you know what to do with it. Well, you can actually use the pricing to substantiate that, hey, I'm asking for a reasonable price, so don't lowball me. Okay. Now, as buyer, it is also important to know the valuation, because if you are actually buying a property that is overvalued, which means you will need to come up with the COV, cash over value. I know the term is used quite sort of more to geared towards HDB, but there is such a thing as COV. Now, the bank will only loan you based on the valuation. So say for example, if you buy a $1.2 million property, okay, and the valuation only come out as $1 million, which means the bank will only base their LTV, loan to value ratio, on the $1 million, which means that you will need to fork out $200,000 of your own cash to cover the rest that's out of the valuation. Okay, that is above the valuation, I should say. And again, what is a high valuation or a low valuation got to do with it? Does it mean that everyone wants their valuation to be high? Now, if you're on the buyer side, if the valuation is too high, don't be too happy about it, because your stamp duty, additional buyer stamp duty, okay, it's based on either the purchase price or the valuation. Listen up, whichever one is higher. So, say for example, if you buy a $1.2 million property and the valuation come up as 1.4, example, you might be clapping your hands to say, hey, yeah, congratulations, I bought an undervalued property. But then the thing is, when you are slapped with your stamp duty bill, the stamp duty will be based on the $1.4 million rather than $1.2 million. Okay, so same goes to seller who has to pay seller stamp duty. The valuation is actually based on whichever is higher, not the selling not the lower one, or the purchase price, or the lower valuation. Okay, whichever one comes up higher. Then of course, borrowing money to buy your property, the bank will actually loan the money to you based on the valuation as well. So high valuation has got its pros and cons, so does low valuation. Okay, so usually if you actually know that don't complain if the banks, you know that, for example, you know that the surrounding area is worth 1.4, and when you go and you manage to bargain down to, let's say, for example, 1.3, and then when you go and borrow money, the bank say, okay, we'll match the valuation at 1.3. Don't make noise, okay? Because well, it's actually that part is actually kind of good for you. Then of course, the third case scenario is that the valuation, by obtaining your own valuation, sometimes you can actually base your decision whether to proceed with the purchase or the sales based on the valuation as well. Okay, I know sometimes this part it's about whether you want to sort of proceed with the sales. You have already put in, as a buyer, you have already put in your deposit, okay, which means that you might have to forego your deposit and all that. But if it's severely undervalued, then it is actually a decision point whether you want to get on and move on and pay the higher value. Can you afford to pay all the extra cash that comes with it or not? And the next thing is, valuation also affects your CPF withdrawal limit. Now, CPF has got 120% of the valuation price withdrawal limit. How can I actually withdraw 120% of the valuation price? Now, not forgetting that when you use CPF, you can also use CPF for the purchase price, and also your borrowing costs such as stamp duty, legal fees, monthly installments, etc. Okay, so when you're buying or selling a property, should you get your own valuation? It is, well, you have to spend money, so anywhere between say $500 to $700 thereabouts, and get one of the valuer to go in and give you a valuation. Now, the bank will do that, but sometimes valuation it's more or less quite a subjective matter, and therefore it's probably good to have your own valuation on hand, and maybe base your decision whether to go ahead with the buy and sell process or not to go ahead with it. Now, it is an amount of money, but hey, if you were to spend that money and make a better decision, more informed decision, then it's money well spent as well. So what do you think of valuation? Let me know in the comment underneath, and please do like the video and follow me for more.